Thank you. Thanks.
There you go.
Good afternoon and welcome to the January 26th Sturgis Public Library Board of Trustees meeting. I'd like to start off by saying this is Julie Moore Peterson's last meeting, so we will miss her, but glad she's here for the final one. And though you can't come back as director to a meeting, you know you're always welcome to come to these meetings, Julie.
I want to say thank you to the library board and all of the library boards that I've served with since I've been here. Amazing people. They work really hard to support our community and our library. And I will miss you.
We will certainly miss you and look back at the 35 plus years you've been here and all the changes, and they're much appreciated. This community appreciates you too. So thank you, Julie. So with that being said, I'd like to call the meeting to order. If everyone has had the opportunity to review the minutes from the last meeting, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Approve.
Thank you, Lance. Second. Cricket, thank you. It's been moved and second to approve the minutes from the December 15th, 2021 meeting. If there's no further comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Thank you. We'll move on to bills and accounts. Julie and Chris, anything you'd like to mention about bills and accounts for the month?
I don't think so. Hasn't been much going on yet. And I think the only thing coming up is actually, well, there isn't really anything coming up, is there? The CD will be up in April? June. So April or May, we'll have to look at what we want to do with the Dunn Trust, but
okay,
that we'll worry about when we get there.
All right.
Yeah.
Are there other questions concerning bills and accounts?
On the back of the first expenditure sheet is the expenditure sheet for the whole year, so you can, I think there was only one more thing added in December after board meeting, so that's all up to date now.
So the expenditure amount you're talking about, Julie?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to think what
it
that was.
Just probably just, I think it was the postmaster. I think it.
Oh,
we had
yeah.
to get stamps, so that was the only additional one we had.
Other questions or comments regarding bills and accounts? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve. So moved. Kristen, thank you. And a second? Second. Kathy, thank you. It's been moved and second to approve bills and accounts. There's no further comments or questions. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Thank you. We'll move on to reports.
All right. The ARPA report has been completed and submitted and lost and found. They said they didn't get it, and Julie said, well, I sent it on this date, and they went, oh, yep, there it is, thanks. So that's all done. We haven't heard back from them yet. They said that usually they have questions for you about it, whether about how it was used or stuff like that, and they'll contact us. It's actually officially due in what, June?
Yeah.
So we're nice and ahead of the curve on there. And
Oh, yeah.
And then for the last, our CARES Act grant to the South Dakota State Library, they wanted visual proof of the items, or else they'll probably do a site visit, but who knows with this grant what they intend to do yet. But we were able to just to send pictures in of what we had done, and that was fine, instead of them having to come out. So hopefully it'll go smoothly if they do.
Great.
yeah, so that's that. Library protocols, we have kind of reinforced what we had in place during COVID, which is limit to about 20 people in the community rooms when they're open. And we did hit that with History at High Noon on Friday. We had about 21 people, and they were all spaced quite nicely, so it was, I think, pretty good that way. And that I think, the last couple that I've been involved with, 3 I think have all been 20-ish attending. So I think to the crowd that comes to those, I think they just, doesn't matter what's going on. Like we've seen it all, so we're just going to keep coming. So so that's good.
And then they do have the remote option too, so people
Yes.
were able to see the program live.
Yeah, it is live streamed, not necessarily the way they intend it to, but it gets live streamed eventually.
Great.
There seems to be a technical issue every time we plug that in, but
Do we know
but we've
how
gotten
many-
them all to work, and then Richard takes them afterwards and polishes them up, and so they're all available on YouTube after the fact as well. So
Is there any way to track how many people watch those? Or?
yes, and it's a handful or less, 2 or 3. I think partly because the technical issue that we've run into is mainly operator error, but they'll set it up ahead of time. They'll schedule it for a certain point in time, and then for whatever reason, when it's time to get started, that we're not able to get that link active. So then usually what I end up doing is going in and starting a new stream, and so it could be that people aren't looking for it. If they just try to click on the link that they were given, it doesn't work. But I think, well, I'm sure there'll be a whole set of new problems next time. But the last problems we got figured out. So hopefully next time around it will actually work and be scheduled, and that might help. And we'll just have to see. I don't know what the turnout had been in the past as far as who shows up to that.
A few years back, it was capacity or over
Yeah.
capacity,
Oh, yeah.
usually 70 to 80 people.
Wow.
And that was before construction, so then there were people standing outside of the room.
Sure. So
And the few times we did have it before the pandemic, we were getting closer to those numbers.
yeah.
Probably not quite. But
Okay.
it was always a very, very popular program, and I'm glad they're able to continue.
Yeah. So that's going well. But that's I guess the only room we changed, because the other rooms that we have don't really have aren't used as often. And then the last thing under reports, building issues. I guess. Things are going well. The water pipes in the staff bathroom and in the staff break room freeze when it gets really cold, because they go up into the ceiling and there's no insulation. And in fact, when the wind's blowing, when they move the panel, it's pretty amazing how cold it gets in there.
Uh-huh.
The staff bathroom's really bad.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there isn't a heat vent in there, so you have to keep the door open. But anyway, you're using it, I guess, and then we encourage you to close it. But so yeah, but those and Rick came over and they looked at it and they found out that actually the vent system for that the offices in that break room actually had been turned off at some point. They think a lever had just fallen closed or something. So they got that opened up, which helped a little bit, but the pipes going up into the ceiling still are freezing. But I think they're planning on insulating that somehow whether they wrap the pipes or do something else. They're still doing that. The other issue is the book drop room. The water pipes that run through there, I guess behind there in the stairwell, also froze a while ago, and they had a leak. And so,
And that's the second time that's happened.
yeah. So that's why the book drop is closed, because that book drop doesn't have any kind of a door on it. We're looking at possibilities to fix that. It was suggested that we just get an outside drop instead, but that's about $14,000 for one of those. We can get a door slot that has insulation, so it keeps the air out, for about $1,000. And if we can heat that room, which has electricity to it, so if we just put in simply a wall heater or something for the few months when it's really cold, I think that would solve the problem. But we're still looking at that with Rick. They'd probably notice if we took the heater out of the lobby and put it in there. So anyway, that we're hoping to get fixed sooner than later, so that people can actually use a drop outside of hours that we're open.
Daniel did direct Rick to see if Rasmussen could come look at it also. Rasmussen does a lot of work for the city, so they were going to try to see what other solutions they have. But yeah, we do need the drop. I think people don't realize that over weekends and evenings, a lot of people return items. And when we had the outside drop, you had to have a cart and pull it out and then pull the cart in. And it's as long as we've got a room that's dedicated for that purpose, I think we need to ensure that it's being used and it works.
So that's what we're at with that. As far as that, those are kind of the only real issues that we have with the building right now. So that's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Any further reports?
Not from me.
Okay. We'll move on to unfinished business, the Smithsonian exhibit.
Yeah, that museum on Main Street, which we've hosted twice in the past, is going to be in 2023, first part of the year, March, April, something like that. It's here for 6 weeks, and this year's theme is Crossroads, the changing rural landscape. Essentially, it's like what's happening in rural America, and and so we had I went to the first meeting for that, Change in Rural America, that's what it is. And it was an introductory meeting, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be a great exhibition. There is a lot of potential for stuff that we can do as far as looking at the changing rural landscape and how that affects us and all of that. So we've got trainings Thursday and then Tuesday, Thursday next week, and then we'll be off for a little while. And after that training next week, then I think I will start hitting maybe you guys up for some ideas on putting together a committee, because they recommend that you put together a smaller committee to help with programming ideas and making sure everything's going to happen and all that, and getting people from the community to contribute in different ways. And are we going to have discussions? Are we going to have readings? Are we going to have a concert? And getting all that together. And I think the issue is going to be limiting what we do, because I think they're going to be just offhand, I thought of about 20 different things that we could do with this, and we've only got 6 weeks. So I'm assuming even if we did 2 things a week, that's only 12 different events we could have, which probably is enough. I think the closest it's going to be in Brookings, I think, and then Pierre, and then us, I think, are the only 3.
I never saw the whole schedule.
I think, judging on who was at the meeting, it was the South Dakota Ag Museum, the State Historical Society Museum, and us. Pier might not be able to do it because they may be renovating. If the legislature approves money for them to renovate their museum, that's going to be happening at the time that it would be there. I don't know if they've got another venue or not, but we could be the only West River venue for this. So I think we can, if we promote it well, we can get people coming from everywhere
Right.
to see this. And it's got 6 different stations that will be put throughout the library, like I think the last one was that way too.
Harmonies was the last one.
All right.
And yeah, it worked well to have the kiosks on both floors and around the library, and it made it easier for the flow of everybody when they were in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a timely topic. It's so relevant, and it's so exciting to have that opportunity. But we talked briefly. Well, it turned into a really long conversation because his 20 ideas turned into my 20 other ideas.
Yeah.
And so it could go so many directions.
Right. Right.
So it's really exciting, but he said they highly recommended finding a more narrower path to begin with. Just
Yeah.
so you know you're not over.
Yeah. So that'll be, I think that'll be pretty exciting to have, and lots of possibilities for that. So we've just started with that, and so we've got basically a year to get it ready, which should be enough time.
But it'll go fast, won't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if we can have things kind of in place by the fall, I think as far as what we're going to do, then I think that should be pretty good for then just making sure that we fine tune things. And part of it can be local, like if we come up with our own idea for an exhibit, or maybe not a kiosk, but at least a wall that we want to use, they encourage that a lot. So that's another aspect of it that we can kind of control, and they're more than happy to give us lots and lots of input on things.
Nice.
So
Sounds
Yeah.
interesting.
It does. It sounds
yeah, so
exciting.
it's I think it's got a lot of possibility. So that'll be cool.
Great.
Yeah, and I think that's it for unfinished business, isn't it?
Right.
How long is the setup for that? Is it like a day that you guys would set it up? Or
Yeah, it takes about a day to set up and a day to tear down. It comes in 18 crates.
Remember Daybell's
Oh,
helping the
yeah.
I
crates?
remember those.
What, remember
Yeah.
we were pushing them down the street and the wind grabbed us and we were going down Main Street hanging onto these the
Oh,
massive
my.
crates.
Yeah.
And we had to find somewhere to store them because they take a lot of room.
Yeah.
But Chris said that Rob, he was one of the ones from the Smithsonian Institute that came with New Harmonies, and he's still with the
He's-
exhibition.
Wow.
He's the guy that's basically in charge of this now.
Yeah,
At
so
least this
that's so
particular
cool.
exhibit he's in charge of. So yeah,
He'll be a big help because he's familiar with our library. He was here.
yeah,
Perfect.
yeah. And he said he enjoyed his time out here. He took a couple extra days and visited things, and yeah,
And we got a lot of community volunteers to come in to help set up because there's just so much to it, and it's fun coordinating and getting everybody excited. The people get involved, and they have a lot of input on other ideas, and it just goes. I'm excited for you guys.
Great. All right, we'll move on to new business.
All right. New business. Let's see. Well, I guess we could start with the temporary card mail stop stuff. I think we had talked about this at a previous meeting. Rapid City and Spearfish are both in the process of changing, their boards are in the process of changing their language so that temporary and non-residents are not allowed overdrive access. They're only allowed physical items. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One is the items that are used through overdrive are either items that need to be, they only have usually 20 to 40 checkouts. And after that many checkouts, you have to purchase the materials again digitally.
Right.
And then also, of course, they're like regular books. You can only check them out one person at a time. There, in Rapid City especially, they have a large number of mail stop companies. And so RVers are using those because of, no state income tax and lower insurance rates for their RVs and all that stuff. And so they're using that. They're getting a local library card, but they're never around. So they're using the resources. They're not contributing to it through sales tax, property tax, whatever means that they would be paying. That's an issue. The other issue is that according to the overdrive contract that we have, access is limited to users who are authorized patrons, which means individuals who provide proof of residency, ownership of property, employment, or enrollment in school or similar institution in a participating library's service area. So some of them think that overdrive could actually say, by giving these people cards, you're violating the overdrive contract, so we're taking it away. I'm not 100% sure that would happen. I think the bigger issue is the resource. They're using the resources and not contributing, and that's Rapid City's library board, I think, is voting to change their language in February. Spearfish is drafting their changes, and I think they're thinking March or April. So at the last library consortium meeting, it came up, and we talked about it. As far as Spearfish, I don't think that's a real big issue right now. I don't think we have mail stop.
They have a KOA campground though that will register.
Do they?
Yeah, and
Okay.
so the people that just stay there a night or two and then they become citizens.
Okay.
Of Spearfish.
Oh, wow.
Well, Spearfish, yeah.
And so they've had this issue
Right.
for a long time.
And that's why Spearfish is drafting their legislation. If some of those mail stop services move a little north of Rapid and end up in Meade County, then it could be a bigger issue for us. At this point, I don't know. If we give somebody a temporary card usually it's in the summer, it's only good for 3 months anyway. And then they don't actually get a physical card. We hold on to the card. They can come in and check stuff out. And then at the end of the 3 months, they don't have privileges anymore. So I think as far as it being an issue of people that are, traveling the country using our resources, I don't think, at least right now, that's a big problem. And I guess personally, I think if they want to use it while they're here, if they're staying here, they're paying sales tax and stuff like that. So they would be contributing if that was an issue. And then when they leave, it's not good anymore. So I wanted to bring it up so that the board's aware of what's happening, at least in other libraries in the consortium. And if that's something that we want to address, then we can definitely look at that as time goes.
I have a question. With a temporary card, they can also access Libby and Overdrive.
Yeah, Libby and Overdrive are the same thing.
Right. They can still get that with a temporary card.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we do. In Rapid, they won't be able to anymore. And in Spearfish, they won't be able to anymore. Yeah. And what's happening with that, just I guess, is some background information. Overdrive, which is the company, and they had the website and they had an app and everything. And then they changed their app and called it Libby. Right. And that was mainly for phones and iPads, tablets. They're getting rid of Overdrive as an app or a web site you can go to. It's all going to be called Libby. Starting, I think in February, you're not going to see Overdrive anywhere as far as an app that you can use. So they're just rebranding is really all they're doing with that. So, but anyway, so yeah, our temporary patrons have full access to everything right now. Mm-hmm.
They also usually pay for their temporary card. So when they move away, we refund that. So all physical items have to be returned before they get that refund.
Yeah, and it's $25.
$25.
Yeah.
So so we keep good track of it's not that many a summer. So a lot of times they're campground hosts, some of the bigger campgrounds around here, the National Forest ones, so they're people you kind of get to know, so.
Yeah.
And, so we keep pretty good track of them.
Yeah.
And you can tell if it becomes an issue with Sturgis Public Library.
Yeah, we can run reports on who's using what. We can see how many temporary cards are using the service, and then we'd know.
Plus, they have a list of the mail stop addresses and stuff that we can.
Yeah, Rapid put together a list, so if somebody tries to get a card in Rapid, when they put in the address, it'll get flagged, and they'll know that it's a mail stop address. And at least that's their plan for doing that. I know we had one person in Sturgis that wanted a card fairly recently and ended up going to Rapid to get it. And for some reason, they didn't want to pay the $20 deposit. We told them they could, because they gave us an address, and we said, well, this isn't a permanent address. Well, it is, and then as it turned out, they weren't. No, it wasn't. But we told them, $20, and you can have a temporary card while you're here. Well, I don't want to pay $20. Well, you'll get it back when you're done. Well, I don't want to pay $20. Okay, well, what's your mailing? Because that's what they were staying somewhere around here, but their mailing address was one of these Rapid City addresses. And when I said, I can't remember if I told you guys this or not. I said, well, you can just go ahead and get a card from the Rapid City Library. Well, where is that? Well, it's downtown.
No, they meant where's Rapid City.
Well, no, they knew Rapid City because they have to drive through it on the interstate. But I said, well, it's downtown. Well, I don't know where downtown is. We just drive on the interstate to where our mailbox is and then come back.
Oh, boy.
They ended up finding the library and actually getting a card, I guess. But anyway, not a big issue for us yet. If it is, then I think we can revisit it.
Okay.
So that's that.
There's no requirement from the consortium yet to do anything, like you don't have to do anything.
No. They're just they were just suggesting, and they were also concerned about the language in the overdrive contract. But I think my question for them, and they didn't really want to discuss it because they thought, well, it's a question for lawyers, is if it says you have proof of residency, well, if they're able to get a South Dakota driver's license, which somehow they can, isn't that proof of residency? So if Overdrive came after the consortium and said, well, they don't have proof of residency, well, they have a driver's license. That seems like that would be.
Sure.
Now, I don't know how they can get a driver's license if they can't show two forms of ID, like.
They don't have an address.
I don't know.
In your case, you guys you know where they're staying, so you're meeting the residents because you know where these folks are. They're getting temporary.
Yeah, if they get a driver's license, what kind of address is on that driver's license? Because if it's.
It's a good question.
Because if that, can they say that they're Meade County then, or can they just say, what do they?
Well, I'm assuming they're using the mail stop address as their permanent address, but don't you have to have two? You have to show residency two ways, right? So I don't know where the other one comes from unless they have a deal worked out with the company they're using. I don't know. What we did find out though, because one of the librarians went on one of these forums that the RVers are on, and they talk about stuff like that. Oh, get your mail stop here because these are all the benefits. It's easy to get a library card, blah, blah, blah. So they're assuming that once this changes, they're going to start talking about that, and then fewer people are going to try to use Rapid City addresses. They're hoping, I guess, as far as the library is concerned. So I don't know.
To be continued, it sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, I'm starting the annual survey for the state library. The state library survey, and that hopefully will be finished for the February board meeting, so you can review it. And that opens up February 1st, so that's when we can start on that. We need to add my name to the bank accounts and take Julie's name off. So we'll have to take care of that probably tomorrow
Yeah,
or Thursday or Friday.
Well,
Yeah.
you'll need a motion and
Oh,
did you want?
oh, that's right. That's an actionable item. Yes.
Did you want to talk about the policies first, Chris?
Oh, you want to do that first? Sure. You bet.
Let's
You bet.
policies for review.
Let's do that. Yes, 2 policies up. We have about, I think, 8 policies that are overdue to be reviewed. We're supposed to be doing it every 5 years, I believe. Every policy is supposed to be reviewed, and I looked at them, and there are a bunch of them that are out of date. But after these 8 are done, everything should fall to where we'll have maybe 2 or 3 a year is all that it's going to be. So this year will be a little bit heavy of a year, but a lot of the policies I think will be pretty simple. The genealogy policy is one of them. We made one small change. In the past, it talked about a flat fee of $5, which included up to 5 obituary requests. Additional requests are $2 each. We changed that to additional charges may apply for complex or time-consuming requests. Most of the time, we don't charge because it's not a really time-intensive process. If it's something where they have a lot of information that they want and it's going to be a bigger process, then this gives us a little bit of leeway to say, well, we'll charge you a flat rate of $10 or $20 if it's really huge. Other than that, we didn't make any. Yeah, those are the only changes.
Is this considered first reading?
This would be, yeah.
Okay.
This would be first reading.
So we do need a motion.
I'll move. Approve the genealogy materials lending policy.
Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you, Kathy and Kristen.
Do we want to do this individually or as a group?
it's better to do these first readings probably
Okay.
because there's a lot of changes.
Sure. So,
Moved and second to approve the changes to the genealogy materials lending policy. Are there further comments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Thank you.
okay. The behavior policy has a few more changes, and I think you have the version that's highlighted. Okay.
Does anybody want old copies to compare with, to look at? I know
have both of
that's
them
what
if
was
you
sent
want.
out with your board packet at the time. All the changes are pretty much highlighted in yellow except for just some format changes with some capitalization.
So the changes we made were basically just cleaning up language, making things a little easier to read. I don't think the only change we made as far as, well, we'll get there when we get there. On the first page, it's rewording things. So if you like the way it's reworded, great. If you have a better idea, feel free to let us know. But the like I said, the policy itself isn't changing. It's just the wording. On the second page, the only actual change we made was the library child safety policy. We changed it from over age 16 to over age 14. And, a lot of the students that we're getting right now are middle school kids. And so 14 is probably a little more appropriate there because they're not supervised. And for the most part, they're all pretty good.
It's also in line with the community center's policies.
Okay, good. Yeah, and I mean, there's some giggling and there was some sliding papers under the bathroom doors, but other than that, it was.
They gotta have some fun.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think one of the times there were these 3 girls, and one of the times they slid it under, they thought one of the 3 was in the bathroom.
And it was someone else.
Somebody else. So,
Embarrassing.
yeah, it was like,
Caught.
you guys may want to make sure you know who's in the bathroom. But anyway, other than that, and then on the last page, again, we cleaned up the language under young children. It was pretty verbose, and we trimmed it down. And then Yeah, and again, wording under disruptive children if we ask them to leave. I think that was the one where we were kind of giving them permission to be loud and noisy because, well, we know the library gets loud sometimes, but if you guys are really loud, that's a problem. And I thought we don't need to say that if the library gets loud because an excuse. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it just clarifies and simplifies, and makes so much better sense to me.
So, there you go. So those are the changes to the behavior.
Are there further comments regarding the behavior policy?
Chris, I did send an email with some of the changes, just minor changes to
Oh, okay.
language and so forth.
Okay.
One of the things that I did change was the reference to he, she.
Yeah.
I made it a little bit more. Well, you can see in the changes I made when you have a chance to look at it. Again, they were minor changes.
Okay. Well,
With
it'll
that
be up
being
for a
said-
second reading anyway, so.
Maybe we should wait for a first reading?
He, she, under the disruptive children.
You could just tell us what the language was, and then the board will be aware.
I don't know that I have it with me, but I can probably step through it. I just one of the things I changed was the settle down comment, and I changed that to the disruptive behavior actually ceasing. Just changed that terminology.
Where would we find that?
That's under disruptive children, last paragraph on the last
Right,
page.
sorry. And then in that same paragraph, and I noticed as we talked earlier on the first page, there are several references, he, she references that I just
Yeah.
cleaned up.
What do you like? Is it just they, or what are you using, or
Yes, I think that's probably more appropriate.
Change it to they.
for the child?
The child, I think the child is what I indicated in the text they sent. I'm sorry, I should have brought it with me.
I didn't either. When did you send it?
Earlier today.
Okay. Okay. I haven't received it yet. It may be there now. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Disruptive behavior. Yeah, settle down. I looked at that too, but my brain just couldn't come up with something. So, and then change he, she's. I can
child,
fix
yeah.
for the next.
Yeah, we'll
if
fix
the
that for
board
the next
approves
reading.
Those changes, you can still do first reading.
Okay, since this is first reading, I'd entertain a motion to approve the behavior policy with the changes that Lance suggested.
So moved.
To be reviewed next meeting. Oh, okay.
I make a motion, we do that.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved in second for the motion I just mentioned. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Thank you. So you'll send that out ahead of time for our review, Chris? Thanks.
Yeah. We'll make those changes and send those out again. Yep.
Okay. Then we'll move on to the updated technology plan.
I'm in the process now of doing that. It's been sidetracked a little bit with some other stuff going on, but it was last looked at, I think, 3 years ago, maybe, or last updated
2019.
19,
I think 2019
2 years ago, maybe then.
and, no, 2020, because we redid it, in order to qualify for the South Dakota CARES Act, we had to have an updated.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Okay.
2020.
So there you go. So it's only, so just a couple of years old.
But it still basically everything in that one has been accomplished, so it's definitely needed to.
Yeah. The big issue that was in there that hasn't been addressed yet is updating some of the switches and cabling and some of that stuff. And that I'm looking into right now as far as what actually we need to change and replace and all that. So that'll be the big part of the technology plan. Other than that, I think the The computer renewal policy is still basically the same. We have our oldest computers now, I think, are just 2 years old. So with the CARES grant, we were able to update. There's one that's older, but it's just a cataloging. We just use it for the catalog. But everything's running Windows 10 now, so no more Windows 7.
Great.
No, except for that one. The OPAC is still Windows 7, but I can't find a password that lets me into it. So it just sits there and does its thing. It'll get replaced in the next round of purchases. So
And we'll see that in the updated technology plan.
perhaps, yes. Yeah. So that's where that is right now. That's just being in process. That should be done again by February.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
All right.
All right, other new business to come before the board. Again, Chris mentioned that he needs to sign the account at First Interstate Bank to have access to the checking accounts, and I would entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
Kristen, thank you.
Second.
Can I just clarify that there are 3 accounts?
And all 3 of them. Cricket, you second that?
Yes.
Thank you. It's been moved and second to authorize Chris to be on the account at First Interstate Bank on 3 different accounts. There's no further questions. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Thank you. We need that for our minutes to present to the bank. Is there other new business to come before the board?
Yeah, a couple of things. Just to, I guess, clarify some of the things that were in the board report, because I think that went out to everybody, right? Yeah. So it mentions that starting February 1st, we're partnering with the Black Hills Community Foundation. And that hadn't been confirmed as far as the starting date, but I got a call just a little while ago that, yes, February 1st is the start date for that. And that's also the date if you get a booster shot on February 1st or later, you bring in ID and your vaccination card, and we give you a $50 gift card that was donated from, do you know?
It's a program called Vax for the Max.
Yeah.
That they're about to implement to encourage non-vaccinated people to get vaccinated. And it was set up so once you got your vaccines and then your booster, you'd get a gift card. But they wanted you to drive to Rapid City to get that gift card. And I'm not sure that would motivate a lot of people from Sturgis. So we suggested that they find a place in town where they can bring in proof and be handed their cards. So the libraries was a great spot, and Chris thought that it would work out well here.
Oh, well done.
And if you get your first 2 shots, provided there are any gift cards left, you actually get $100 if you get your first series of vaccinations. And if the cards lasted long enough, theoretically, you could get $150 if you went back after your booster.
Right.
They have 300 of these cards in Rapid. We have 50 of them, and Custer has 50. And so he said if we run out fairly quickly, if they still have some left in Rapid, they'll bring some more to us. But that's,
So
but we'll see how it goes.
How do people find out? Just news?
I think they've got some press releases that are going out.
It's their program. They'll do all the marketing. Yeah. They'll just list the Sturgis Public Library as the place they can show proof of vaccination and pick up their gift card.
Yep. And all we do is write down their name. And I guess the idea is, so I guess if somebody comes back to try to get another $50, we'll have their name down. So they can't. They're not super worried about that. And then they also sent us a logo that we can put on a piece of paper saying this is where you can go. But yeah, they're handling all that.
Okay.
And the COVID at-home tests, which is another thing, those haven't come in yet. But once those are here, then we'll be handing those out. But I haven't heard anything since the initial contact last week.
And that's a program the state library reached out to ask libraries if they were willing to distribute those from the Department of Health. And hopefully we're good to go.
hopefully soon. Yeah. Yeah, so that'll be good. Yeah, I think that's
Okay,
it for, just as a clarification, that's all I wanted to bring
Thank
that up.
you.
Yeah.
is there further business to come before the board? If not, I would entertain a motion at this time to move into executive session for personnel issues.
So moved.
Shirley, thank you.
Second.
Who gets credit?
Lance.
It was a tie.
It's been moved and second to move into executive session. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
And then will we adjourn after that so I don't have
Yep.
to turn this back on?
You can-
Okay.
We're done. Thank you.
All right.